Canada is becoming a big leader in natural resources. This is a hot topic during the federal election. Premier David Eby supports the government's decision to approve a new pipeline. This pipeline will carry natural gas to a floating LNG terminal near Prince Rupert. He said Canada has the skills to make this work and the world needs more LNG. One big reason this is good for Canada is that it doesn't need US pipelines. Recently, 14 million tons of LNG left the port of Kitimat and went to North Asia. This gas is worth 40 billion Canadian dollars. It was Canada's first direct LNG export. This is a big step and challenges America's control over energy. That same night, Prime Minister Mark Carney told his team that the East-West pipeline is now a national project. It will go forward without delay. This surprised the White House. Right now, 97% of Canadian oil and gas still goes to the US, but Carney has started turning that flow in a new direction. If Canada stops sending fuel south, who will pay America's energy bills? So what is the US facing now? Stay tuned for more updates about Canada's LNG growth. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. In just 10 days, a ship called the Gaslog Glasgow traveled from Kitimat to South Korea. That's half the time US ships take through the Panama Canal. Faster travel means lower costs and no US tariffs. But this is not just about speed. Asia is the main buyer. In 2025, Asia will buy 60% of all LNG in the world. That means for every 3 gas deliveries to Tokyo, Shanghai, or Seoul, 2 could come from Canada. Canada used to be a backup to Houston. Now it's becoming a fast gas station close to Northeast Asia. The big project making this happen is LNG Canada. It's the largest private investment in Canadian history, worth $40 billion. On June 30th, the first shipment of 14 million tons per year was sent across the Pacific. This was Canada's first LNG export without using US pipelines. Big companies are backing this project. Shell, Petronas, PetroChina, Mitsubishi, and Kogas are all involved. They built a 670-kilometer pipeline called Coastal Gas Link to bring gas from the mountains to the coast. The first gas unit, Train 1, can process 6.5 million tons. Train 2 will start next year and double the total to 14 million tons. Later, this could double again with expansion. Right now, some technical problems are slowing production. Only 0.4 billion cubic feet of gas is being sent per day. But experts think full capacity 1 billion cubic feet per day will be reached before the end of the year. This will happen just as gas tanks are full and ready. Each shipment from Canada is cheaper than US gas. Every time Trump threatens tariffs, they matter less. Canadian gas is now strong in the market. This gives Prime Minister Carney more power. He can now control how much gas Canada sends and when. Asia needs more energy. Canada is ready to supply it. Now the US might need to buy gas from Canada to keep the lights on in states like California. When the US talks about new tariffs, the market doesn't worry. Gas prices are now shaped more by Canada than by the US. Any new tariff plan must deal with the fact that Canada is already shipping gas from Kitimat through the Pacific Gateway. And it looks like that gateway will stay open for good. Prime Minister Carney told the Calgary Herald that a new pipeline from Alberta to the Pacific is coming soon. It will be marked as a national project. This will make the approval process much faster. This is not just talk. Canada's Parliament just passed a new law called the One Canadian Economy Act. This law makes it faster to approve big energy and infrastructure projects. It also removes trade barriers between provinces. This means new pipelines can be built quickly and easily. One new pipeline will send oil straight from Alberta to the Port of Vancouver. It will not go through US refineries in the Midwest or on the East Coast. Right now, these US refineries use about 3.75 million barrels of Canadian oil every day. This number comes from April 2025 data by the US Energy Information Administration. Imagine what happens if that oil stops. Oil storage tanks in cities like Chicago, Detroit, and Philadelphia would be empty. The US would have to import oil back from Canada by ship. That would cost more because shipping and insurance by sea are more expensive than pipelines. Canada learned a hard lesson from the Trans Mountain Pipeline project. That project faced many delays because of legal fights with indigenous communities. This time, Prime Minister Carney made sure to do things differently. The government made agreements with indigenous groups before starting. They promised to respect land rights and support local communities. This reduced legal risks and helped the project move forward without major problems. This new approach is working. There are fewer objections, and the project is moving fast. Once finished, Vancouver will become the top oil export port in North America. Meanwhile, the Gulf Coast and Mexico's oil systems will lose importance. Canada already hit a record in July 2024. It exported 4.3 million barrels of oil per day to the US. This happened right after the Trans Mountain expansion was completed. But now, with the new pipeline, Alberta's oil can go straight to Asia or Latin America. It no longer needs US refineries at all. So what about Trump's threats? He warned about 25% tariffs on Canadian oil and gas. But once Canada starts selling oil elsewhere, those threats don't matter anymore. They become just empty words on social media. Whenever Prime Minister Carney announces progress on these projects, the price of Canadian oil drops in the US to keep customers. At the same time, Canada sends out more oil, making tariff threats useless. Right now, global politics are tense. This new pipeline across Canada is a smart move. It shows that Canada wants energy independence and more control. It also proves that no one can stop Canada's energy supply again. Once the Alberta to Vancouver pipeline is ready, any US tariff threats won't matter. Canada will have a direct route to the ocean. No one can block it. Yes, the US is producing a record amount of oil, 13.4 million barrels a day. But there's a problem. New pipelines in the US are stuck because of environmental lawsuits. Projects like Keystone XL, Mountain Valley, and Constitution pipelines are delayed. Even though Trump supported them, they haven't delivered any oil yet. Now think about this. If Canada starts sending oil straight to the Pacific, US, refineries in places like Chicago and Philadelphia will lose their Canadian supply. They will have to buy oil from the Middle East instead. That oil is more expensive, about $3 more per barrel. This would raise the cost of making gasoline in the US. Gas prices in Midwest states could go much higher. Even though the government expects an average price of $3.10 per gallon in summer 2025, the real price could be more if they lose Canadian oil. President Trump keeps threatening tariffs, sometimes 35% on all Canadian imports. But those threats are not working. LNG prices now move based on Canada's actions, not Trump's tweets. Every time a Canadian tanker leaves the port of Kitimat, it ignores US trade deals and tariff threats. Trump even talked about a 200% tariff on medicine from Europe and Canada to push big pharmaceutical companies back to the US, but Canada has a powerful tool now. If it shuts off its oil and gas exports, it can use those pipelines and LNG shipments as bargaining power. Instead of Canada backing down, it's now the US that is trying to protect its access to Alberta's cheap oil and gas. The United States is facing a big problem. First, it may lose access to cheap Canadian oil. Then, it will have to buy more expensive oil from the Middle East. This oil also comes with higher shipping costs. Second, Canada now has a faster way to send LNG, liquefied natural gas, to Asia. This new route takes only 10 days instead of 20. Because of this, US LNG exports are now less competitive in Asia. While US pipeline projects are delayed by lawsuits, Canada is using this moment to change the energy game. It's no longer acting like the US's backyard oil supplier. Now, Canada is in control, and Washington is the one reacting. If Canada continues to take the lead, then US threats of tariffs or trade bans won't mean anything. Gas prices in the US have already hit $3.13 per gallon this summer. That's because demand is high. If Canada sends more of its oil to the Pacific instead of the US, Midwest refineries will be hurt the most. Those refineries get about 66.1% of their crude oil from Canada every day. If that oil stops, they will have to buy heavier and more costly oil from the Middle East. This would raise the cost of refining. Gas prices could go up by about 30 cents per gallon. That's nearly a 10% increase from current prices. This means people in states like Illinois, Michigan, and Ohio will feel the pain. Every time they fill up a 20-gallon tank, it could cost $5 to $8 more. It won't stop at gas. Shipping costs for food, clothes, and other basics will also go up. Families who live in rural or suburban areas and depend on cars will be hit hard. They might start cutting out non-essential trips. Trucking and delivery companies will pay more for fuel. And they will pass those costs on to customers. So regular people will pay more for everything. If tariff threats are just fake warnings, then American people are the ones who suffer when supplies go down. It's not just about gas prices anymore, it's about daily life getting more expensive. Prime Minister Carney chose August 1st as the deadline for a reason. By then, the Alberta to Vancouver pipeline will be almost finished. Once that point is reached, the US won't be able to stop it. Canada will move forward no matter what Washington says. After the final pieces of the pipeline are connected under British Columbia, US, threats or pressure won't matter. It will be like water slipping through your fingers. But the story isn't over. Canada is thinking about building another LNG port at Prince Rupert, in the far northwest. If that happens, the shipping time to Asia will shrink to just 8 days. That's almost 3 times faster than US ports in Texas and Louisiana. At that point, North America will not just be arguing over tariffs. It will be in a global race for energy speed and control. From that view, every angry tweet about tariffs from 25% to 100% will feel like missed chances. The US is trying to build new pipelines too, but it's stuck in lawsuits and protests. Environmental groups and indigenous communities are slowing things down. Meanwhile, Canada is moving fast. It has made deals with big energy companies like Shell, Petronas, and Mitsubishi. These companies are now ready to invest and redirect energy to new places. So here's the big question. What will the White House do to keep getting cheap oil? Will it lower tariffs and let Canadian oil keep flowing? Or will it raise tariffs even more and risk higher gas prices? What do you think will happen to American families next? Leave a comment and tell us what you think is the best move in this high-stakes energy and trade battle. And don't forget to subscribe to Deep State and hit the bell to get our latest updates.